Now, those of you who know that the Kershaw Heist is one of the best offerings in the budget crossbar arena. And at $55, it's really hard to beat and kind of sets the standard for budget crossbar blades. Well, believe it or not, BOKER may have just usurped that space with the introduction of the Lucas Burnley designed KIHON. This is sporting D2 steel as well, a crossbar lock, has an ambidextrous design to it, has a few features that I connect with a little bit more than the Kershaw, and slices off about $12 from the cost of your pocketbook, coming in at about $42 compared to the $55 of the Heist. So I'm going to unpack everything with you today. There is one aspect to the BOKER that might be a deal breaker. We're gonna look at fit and finish to see how that all stacks up and see what this KIHON, let's do that. KIHON BOKER has going on and whether or not it's able to take the throne from the Kershaw Heist. If you're new to the channel, thanks for joining me. If you're a regular viewer here, appreciate you coming back and hanging out with me today. I'm Aaron, this is Gideonstactical. Let's dive in. Now, the first thing I noticed right away is that the KIHON is definitely the bigger, beefier, heavier tool. So if you're looking for slim, sleek, and lighter weight and less real estate in the pocket, the Heist has it beat. But what I like about the KIHON is that it does have a little bit more of that burliness. Starting first and foremost with the blade itself. I really connect with that blade shape, giving us that really classic design, some swedging up top, kind of like a clipped spear point is what the blade profile is, being 3.3 inches. It has a saber grind. I was reading a few places they was stating hollow, but I put my ruler on it and there's no concaving at all. On an 1/8 of an inch thick stock. The Heist is going to be 0.89 thick. So the Heist will outslice this model, but is not as durable. So it depends again on how you use your pocket knives. If you like a little bit more durability, the KIHON has it beat, but if you want sliceability, the Heist does have a slight leg up. Now it does have that D2 steel, nothing to balk at, definitely holds an edge well. Now, one thing to note that when we look at symmetry of blade and fit and finish, on the one side here, we have great grind lines. I have no issues. There doesn't seem to be any wonkiness at all. On the other, I do have a slight sweeping of that grind up by the thumb stud. It kind of sweeps up like somebody was finishing out the grind and kind of went, and so it's not perfectly symmetrical. When you look down the blade, it looks like the grind is all done. It just was brought up a little higher by the thumb stud, which, I mean, for $40 isn't the end of the world to me, but if you were to ask me between that and my Heist has good grind lines and they seem to be more symmetrical. So that's a little bit, is this one of 10,000 that has that issue? Potentially, but it is something to be aware of and just to know. That was something that occurred on mine. All the other fit and finish aspects that we're going to get into, I'm not seeing any issues. They're perfect and dialed in really nicely. Now, one other attribute that I did just really connect with is the little hits in those collars around the pivot, as well as that back portion. Just gives this blade the one downside with the Heist is it's very generic. I mean, you can't get much more generic vanilla than the Heist. The KIHON gives some flair, not only in the blade profile, but also just in little highlights here and there, and is a more stylish blade, I feel like, and feels a little bit more standout-ish than the Heist. So that is something, we got to visually connect with the tool as much as its performance. Now, in just a moment, I will hit the one aspect that the Heist absolutely has this BOKER beat, and it may be a deal breaker for you. But for just a moment, I do want to invite you guys to hit the like button, to consider subscribing, hit the bell icon so you can get notified every week when I put up new gear reviews, helping you make good choices on whether or not a piece of gear equipment is really worth throwing in rotation or not. It is you, the viewers, in partnership with our sponsors that help me to be able to create content, show you these pros and cons. And I do want to take a moment to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, which is Hardside Hydration. Now, you guys know I've been using my Hardside Hydration Swig rig systems for the past few years when I go out on my adventures. So if you're already familiar with them and you haven't scored one yet, now is the perfect time to do so with summer right around the corner. Now, if you've never heard of Hardside hydration before, what it does is it gives you a hands-free straw so you can use it and sip, but instead of it being attached to one of those cumbersome, leaky, headache to clean water bladders that has to ride inside your pack and take up a bunch of space, it can attach to any largemouth water bottle with the original Swig rig, as well as any 28mm mouthed water bottle with the ultralight Swig rig, giving you the ability to have a more durable water system on the exterior of your pack so you can see the levels and be able to refill a lot easier and giving you a much more streamlined cleaning process. So guys, I'll have a link in the description box below over to the Hardside Hydration website where you can explore all the different variants that are available, and I'll also include my 10% off promo code you can apply towards your purchase. So I invite you to explore, check it out, and get yourself that hands-free hydration without all the headache of those cumbersome water bladders. Now, the one area where the Heist totally has this knife beat is in deployment. I mean, this is creamsicle smooth, even with the bronze washers on the standard model. The DURALOCK is so, I mean, it's ice baby in its deployment. The BOKER is running on bearings. They're bronze caged ball bearings, from what I can tell. It is kind of gritty. It's not as smooth. I mean, it's smooth, it's fine, but you can like hear them. That is the bearings like rattling around in the pivot area, and the pullback motion just isn't as smooth. I mean, it is literally like greased lightning on this Heist for me to just use and deploy, and it definitely, you just kind of feel it. It just feels kind of like with the BOKER. So that is something just to kind of be aware of in that. Now, with that said though, the BOKER has a couple positives. One, there's less play on the pivot. The Heist definitely has some serious side to side and up and down play. Not enough to make me, feel disconcerted, but when I compare it to the BOKER has 0 side to side and almost none up and down. So the tightness of the pivot definitely goes to the BOKER, and the BOKER has better, more standoff crossbar pillars, so it makes it easier to engage, especially if you have gloves on and things like that, and use the tool in tandem with the thumb studs. So deploying, like, engagement of the locking mechanism and the deployment feature is better than on the Heist. The Heist is just about flush with those scales. If it was one honeycomb like stack up, it would be perfect. It's fine, but there are times where I kind of like almost slide off of it, and you really have to like think, pinch, pull. Whereas you don't have to do that. It's very easy. It is very intuitive to use the crossbar on the BOKER. Now, when it comes to ergonomics, they both are going to have flow-through construction. We have those nice standoffs right there. They both have steel liners that are not milled. So the Heist, though, still comes in at under 3 ounces, whereas the KIHON is going to be pushing forward. It's like 3.7 ounces. So it's about an ounce heavier, but that's nice that it has like that really good rigidness to it. It doesn't feel light, and like it has some density to the model. Same as the Heist, but it just feels like more built and overbuilt. And you're going to be getting about a ½ inch on almost every aspect dimensionally on the KIHON more than you will on the Heist. The handle, particularly from the guard to where it ends, is going to be 3 3/4, and that's really where your hand is, whereas the Heist is 3 1/2. So I get more real estate off the back there. The overall length is 4 1/2. It's 4 1/4 on the Heist, and this is going to be 4.7 thickness. The Heist is 4.1. So again, it fills out the hand more. It has a little bit more contouring on those GFN scales. Have good density to them. You have a little hit of jimping, little guard, or not a little, good protruding guard right there that you're really locked in. If you do a piercing move, I never felt like I was losing traction on the KIHON, and really did fill out my hand better than the Heist. The Heist is just there, and for general like EDC, it's totally fine. But if I'm doing heavier tasks, more burly things, where I'm going to be holding and cutting the knife for a longer period of time, and I want a little bit more girth in the hand, the KIHON absolutely has the Heist beat ergonomically. Now, as we go along, the blade, I can't remember if I said this before, but the blade is nice and recessed. It's way deep buried in there. It's not going to, accidentally pop out. Great centering, hasn't floated side to side. All that is excellent. Now the Kershaw Heist has a great pocket clip. It's got recessed screws, it's loop over deep ride, it's ambidextrous, tip up. Not a lot to complain about there. The flare, you know, is a little obnoxious, but I mean, nothing to be concerned with. Now this is also an ambidextrous blade, so that's excellent. It's gonna have a wire pocket clip. I tend to gravitate more to wire pocket clips because they tend to have less issues in scratching things, snagging things, and are usually more ergonomic. And this, especially if you have reinforced pants and like thicker, broader pants like that, this is perfect and ideal for that. You are gonna get quite a large loop right there, good tension, easy to get on and off of your pants, and you are gonna have a little bit of a high pinch point, making it easier to quick deploy, where this is again more ideal for like going to the office, the Heist, and just like lightweight, slim EDC. This is again having that concept of being a little bit burlier, a little bit bigger, and giving you, doesn't create any hot spot on my palm. And because all the edges are rounded, just feels slightly more ergonomic and doesn't go biting into my hand, just quite like the Heist does. And partly that might be because of the larger handle. So guys, that is the KIHON. I will have links in the description box below over to both the Heist as well as the KIHON, so you can kind of explore both of their capabilities and just kind of think through things. There are aspects where the Heist is absolutely still the winner and is a little bit more compact, buttery smooth, and a little bit better slicer for sure. But you can save yourself 12 bucks and you're gonna get actually kind of like a beefier built tool that I feel like absolutely can compete in this same arena, and now gives us an option and actually just kind of gives a little bit better flair. I mean, just styling wise, I give more points to the BOKER than I do to the Kershaw. But that is me in my mileage. The KIHON is definitely in my mind a very viable option. I do appreciate BOKER hooking me up with this particular model so I can point out the pros and things I like and some of those issues that I've seen in the design to help you guys make that wise choice. And I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts. What's your take on the KIHON overall in this offering? Is it like a non-starter and you're like, nope, Kershaw all the way? Or is this some of the aspects have been something that you're looking for out of these budget crossbars that you haven't been able to find yet? I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts and your take on whether or not this makes sense to put in rotation or not. I invite you to check out the other videos, subscribe if you haven't yet, and until next time, always remember to stay equipped, stay prepared. I'll see you out there.